If you're running Google Ads, you must measure how well they perform. This can be done with conversion tracking. For example, a user clicks an ad, lands on your website, and subscribes to a newsletter. You should send that conversion to Google Ads because you will see which campaigns and keywords perform better and which ones are not worth your money. In this video, I will explain how to track Google Ads conversions with Google Tag Manager, including enhanced conversions. You might be wondering which approach to choose. Should you track conversions natively with Google Ads conversion tracking, or should you import conversions from Google Analytics? Personally, I always prefer using the native Google Ads conversion tracking because I've noticed that those numbers usually are more accurate, and Google keeps changing Google Analytics so often that it's just more stable, at least that's how I feel, when I am using the native Google Ads conversion tracking. And this is exactly what I will be showing and using in this tutorial. So here I have a demo website where visitors can submit this form and subscribe to my newsletter. Of course, this is a fake website. And when someone submits this form, I want to track a conversion and send that conversion to Google Ads. So first, let's see how can we track this form submission with Google Tag Manager. So I will go to Google Tag Manager, which is installed on this particular website. I will click Preview. Then copy the URL of the website, enter it right here, and click Connect. Once the preview mode has connected, I will submit the form and click Subscribe. So let's see what is happening in the preview mode. Let's say that in this particular example, I asked a developer to push the event to the data layer once the form is submitted. That's why I have the subscribed event right here. If you have no idea what data layer is, then I will post some resources below the video. But once I click this subscribed, I expand it, I see the name of the event and the email that was submitted. So technically, I could instruct Google Tag Manager that when the event subscribed happens, then we should send this as a conversion to Google Ads. There are also some other form tracking methods, so I will share resources related to that in the description of the video as well. Because since there are many ways how the forms work and how they are coded, there are many ways how they can be tracked, and you will need to pick the correct method. But for this video, I'm using the data layer option right here. By the way, I release Google Analytics or Google Tag Manager tutorials every week. If you want consistent flow of fresh knowledge and to stay up to date, then subscribe to this channel. It will help us a lot. Now, the next step is to create a conversion in Google Ads because it will give us certain IDs that we will need to use in Google Tag Manager when we will create a conversion tag. Now, this part might be a bit tricky and somewhat annoying because Google keeps changing the interface and the process of how you create conversions. So what I see in the interface right now might look different. So you will need to adapt and try to find those options somewhere in the interface of Google Ads. So once you log into ads.google.com, go to Goals, and then you will be redirected to Summary of Conversions. Then here, keep looking for a button called Create Conversion Action. It might be here, it might be somewhere in the middle of the screen, but just keep looking for Create Conversion Action. Then you will need to select a group of your conversion. This is the view that you might see. Or maybe you're working with a new Google Ads account, and in that case, you will see a view like this. Here, you will need to select conversions on a website. In this particular flow, I have not installed Google Tag, therefore it tells me this. So I will need to do that in one of the upcoming steps. I will disable phone calls because now I will be focusing only on conversions on a website. So click Save and Continue. And here I see the step where I have to select the category. This is the same step that I showed you like several moments ago. Since I am tracking the newsletter subscription form, and this is when I will be firing my conversion tag, I will need to find something related to newsletter or subscribe or something like that. So here I have that category right here. If you don't find anything useful here, then you can click See All to expand the list. Anyway, I will select subscribe. Now, if you're working with a new Google Ads account and you haven't installed a Google tag on your website, you might be prompted to enter the website URL so that Google Ads would scan. So here you can enter the domain of your website, click Scan, and it will tell you that Google Tag is not installed yet. Later in this tutorial, I will show you how to install it. So for now, I think it's enough just to click Done and then go and select the conversion action category in one of the upcoming steps. then create conversion, and then I will select the data source. So this is the Google tag that I will be using to track conversions. In your case, you might not have the Google tag yet, so maybe you will be prompted to create that. In this case, do so. Anyway, this is my data source and this is the website. And then I'm asked whether I want to create a conversion manually or automatically without a code. In this case, I will be using manually with code. And here I will have certain conversion settings that I can expand and see what kind of options do we have. Then I select that they're usually the primary action used for bidding optimization. Then here you can enter the name. For me, subscribe seems fine. Then you can decide what kind of values are you going to assign to these conversions. Will every conversion have the same value or will they have different values? For now, I will keep the setting as it is. Then you can decide how are you going to count those conversions. Do you want to count each conversion? Or if a visitor completes several conversions in the same session, would you like to track only one conversion? So normally for non-purchase conversions, I select one because for me, it does not matter whether the same user submits the form 3 times or 1 time. I just want to count the fact that the user converted. But if we're looking at some very important conversions where every conversion matters, like purchase, so even if the visitor completes a couple of purchases in the same session, I still want to track every conversion. So for purchases, I would select every, but for most other conversions, I keep 1. And then you can keep all other settings as they are, and then click done. Then click save and continue. And you will get the instructions on how to install it in several ways. In this tutorial, I am focusing on Google Tag Manager, so I will be using that. If you don't see the Use Google Tag Manager option, then I will post a link to a troubleshooting guide below the video. And here I have several things. So I have conversion ID, I have conversion label, and I will need to use them in Google Tag Manager. So let's go to Google Tag Manager, tags, new, tag configuration, then Google Ads conversion tracking, and then here I will paste the conversion ID. So copy that. And then conversion label is right here. So copy that and paste right here. Then once I enter conversion ID, I am prompted to add a Google tag because in this particular container, Google tag related to this conversion was not found. That's why I can click create tag. It is already pre-filled and I can just keep these settings as they are and click save. Then for the very basic setup, if you just care about the counts of conversions, this is enough. When it comes to tag configuration, the next step is triggering. So click triggering right here, and we have to configure when exactly do we want this tag to fire. And in my case, it's when this form is submitted. In the context of this form, when the form is submitted, I get the subscribed event. In your case, you might get something else. This depends on what kind of form are you tracking. But in my case, I can just copy this and we will create a trigger based on this event. So I will go to Google Tag Manager, click plus right here, trigger configuration, then custom event, and paste this event right here. Then let's give this trigger a name and click save. This trigger will be automatically added to the tag, and right now this is what will happen. When I submit the form, this trigger will be activated and it will fire this tag that will send conversion ID and conversion label to Google Ads. Let's name this tag and click save. Now let's test if this is working. So click preview, then continue, and my website has reloaded. I will now submit the form again, click subscribe. The page reloaded, subscribe event happened, my tag fired. Now, there is a bug in Google Tag Manager preview mode, and sometimes you will see a known tag type. This is a temporary thing, and after a little while, this error should go away, and then you will start seeing Google Ads conversion tracking label right here. So even though you have a known tag type, it's not a problem. If we click on our Google Tag ID right here, we will see the requests sent to Google Ads, and some of them are related to our conversion. So for example, I can click this one, and this one was sent to this domain, while the second one was sent to this particular URL. So in my case, the domains are the same, but the paths of requests were different. So don't worry, don't think that you are sending duplicate requests. In fact, this is still related to the same conversion. Then you can go back to the interface of Google Ads, and even though it asks you to add the conversion linker tag, we kind of don't need it because we have created a Google tag right here, which serves a similar purpose. In fact, Google tag handles many more things, but one of them is related to cookies, which conversion linker previously did. So once this is done, click Finish. And then if your goal was to have a basic conversion tracking, this is pretty much done. The final step would be for you to click Submit and then publish this container version so that your Google conversion tags would go live to website visitors. Now, another thing that you could do is that instead of sending just the conversion, you could also send the value with it. For example, if a purchase is made on your website and one user purchases for $10, while the other one purchases for $50, you could send those values, and in this case, I mean $10 or $50, to Google Ads. That way you could measure not only how many conversions you get, but also how much revenue do you get. So here I have another demo page on my website, and here if I click purchase, then I will be redirected to the order confirmation page and some purchase data will become available in the data layer. This is also one of those situations where you could ask the developer to push some data to the data layer. Or if maybe you're using some popular e-commerce platform, they might have some native integration, or maybe they have Google Tag Manager plugins that you can install and they will push the data to the data layer. So now I will open the preview mode and will test what is happening on this particular page. So click connect. And once the preview mode is connected, I will click purchase, and I have made the purchase successfully. And here I have an event called purchase. Then I will expand it. And here I have not only the event name, but also some purchase information. For example, the order total. I could send this to Google Ads. To do this, let's go to Google Ads, then goals, summary, and let's create another conversion action. This time I will be tracking purchase, so click here, then create conversion, then I will select my website, manually code, then this time I will select every count, and this is actually the default for the purchase because that's what Google recommends as well, and then click done, save and continue. And again, let's use Google Tag Manager. This is the conversion ID and this is conversion label. Let's go to Google Tag Manager, tags, click new, tag configuration, Google Ads, and Google Ads conversion tracking. Here I will paste the conversion ID. So it's the same as it was in the previous conversion, but conversion label is different. So let's copy that and paste it right here. Then here we have additional fields, for example, conversion value or currency code, also transaction ID. Even though these are optional, they are quite useful. For example, conversion value will help us inform Google Ads that one particular conversion generated more revenue, thus it's more valuable to our business. So let's go to the preview mode, and here I see value, I see currency, and also I see transaction ID. We could send this information to Google Ads. Transaction ID, for example, is useful because if you send the same transaction ID multiple times, Google Ads will deduplicate that. So to access these values, we will need to create variables in Google Tag Manager. One variable for value, one for currency, and one for transaction ID. So let's do that. I will go to Google Tag Manager and in the conversions value, click this button to insert the variable. I don't have the variable related to value, therefore I will create a new one. Click plus right here, then variable configuration and data layer variable. Here we will have to enter the name of the variable, which is value, but that value is inside the e-commerce. So we have to enter the entire path, which is e-commerce.value. So enter like that. Then let's give this variable a name. DLV stands for data layer variable, and click save. And let's do the same thing for transaction ID. So click this, then let's create a new data layer variable where the parameter name or the data layer variable name will be ecommerce.transaction_ID. If in your case the parameter names are different, then you will need to adapt. So ecommerce.transaction_ID, and then let's name this variable. Click save. And finally, currency code. You can either create a variable if you have that parameter, but if your store always operates in one currency, then you can just enter manually that currency code in the tag. In my case, the store always operates in euros, therefore I can just enter euros like that and it will be just fine. Then in the triggering, let's create a condition when we want this tag to fire. In my case, it should fire when event is purchase. So copy the name. And then let's create a trigger, which is custom event, and its name is like this. Then give it a name and click save. So when the purchase happens on a page, this tag will fire and it will send this conversion to Google together with the conversion value, transaction ID, and currency. Then let's name this tag and click save. Let's test if this is working. So click preview to refresh the preview mode. I am now again on the initial purchase page, then I will click purchase right here. And if I go to tag assistant, click purchase, I will see that my tag fired. I can click it. And if I switch from names to values, I can see what kind of values were sent. Also, I can close this, go to my Google tag ID, and I will see the purchase hit. The reason why I see 5 right here is because I have other 4 conversions created in that particular Google Ads account, so don't worry about that. Now, if I click here, I can see what kind of information was sent to Google. For example, value, conversion label, currency, then there's transaction ID, and so on. Once you're done testing, then go back to Google Ads, click finish, and then in Google Tag Manager, click submit and publish these changes so that purchase tracking would also go live to website visitors. When it comes to verifying whether Google Ads received those conversions, the process is a bit more complex. First of all, there is no real-time report where you can check the incoming data, so you will need to wait for at least 24 hours to start seeing that data. And basically, one of the ways how you could do that is go to Goals, Summary, and again, imagine that I'm doing this the next day. And then here, try to find that conversions. So this is my purchase. And here, right now, I see zeros, but as you collect more data over time, you will start seeing some numbers right here. Also, to make sure that the status of the conversion becomes active, first you will need to click on one of your live ads that redirects visitors to your website. And after that click, make a purchase or complete your conversion in general. And then after a while, the status of the conversion will change. It's not enough that we just sent this data with Google Tag Manager. First, there must be an ad click. By the way, did you know that I have a bunch of free ebooks on Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics? So if you want to better learn these topics, then click the link below the video, download those ebooks, and get started. And now the final thing is enhanced conversions. By default, Google Ads tags use cookies, but cookies these days are quite limited. People can use multiple devices. They might be using some browser extensions that can interfere with your data accuracy. So an additional layer of data that you can send to Google in order to make your attribution more accurate is user data. For example, if you know the customer's email address, you can send that to Google with your conversions. And this is done with the help of enhanced conversions. So first of all, you should check whether enhanced conversions in general are enabled in your account. Normally it will be, but it's better be safe than sorry. So just double check whether enhanced conversions are enabled. So let's start sending user data, and in this case, email with the purchase. So first go to the purchase conversion. And then here in the settings, keep an eye on enhanced conversions. If it says managed through Google Tag Manager, then you're good to go. But if not, then click Edit Settings, then Enhance Conversions, and enable this checkbox right here and click Save. Now, the next step is to configure the enhanced conversions in Google Tag Manager. In the preview mode, when the purchase happens, and by the way, again, switch to your Google Tag Manager container. So if you go to purchase and then expand it, I see that I have the user email. So I could send this to Google Ads. To access this information, we have to create a data layer variable. So let's do that. I will go to Google Tag Manager, then variables, then new variable configuration, data layer variable, and I will have to enter user_email. In your case, it might be something else. So again, you will need to adapt. Once you copy this, go back here and paste this email, and then let's give this variable a name. Then the next step is to configure a special variable needed for enhanced conversions, and that is called user provided data. So let's go to user defined variables in Google Tag Manager, click new variable configuration, and then keep looking for the user provided data. Then here, keep manual configuration. And then in these fields, you should add the variables that return certain user information. For example, I have created an email variable. Therefore, in the email field, I will add that variable. Then let's call this variable user provided data and click save. Once that variable is created, we have to include it in our conversion tag. So I will go to tags, and again, I will be sending user provided data with the purchase conversion. So click here on the purchase tag, then expand it, then event parameters, and then here add a parameter which is called exactly user underscore data, like this. And we see the checkbox because this is a known parameter to Google Ads. In this field, let's insert the user provided data variable. Click the button, then user provided data, and that's pretty much it. So click save, then click preview to refresh the preview mode, and let's make a purchase again. So click purchase, then go back to the preview mode. We can click on the purchase here, then switch to Google Ads tag, and then select the purchase again. Or actually, no, sorry, we should select the conversion because on purchase, the tag fired and then it sent the conversion. Now, if I click this tag, I will see some information, and also I see EM. So this is the user provided data, and Google Ads tag hashed that user email, which if we simply put means that Google Ads made the user email not readable for the human eye. So this is the hashed email value, and EM means email. If you send, for example, phone number, then you would see PH and then additional value somewhere right here. We can also use one more thing to verify the enhanced conversions, and that is a Chrome extension, which is called EC Assist. I will post a link to it below the video, so click that link, install the extension, and then let's go to the website, then click EC Assist, then get started, and then enter the URL where we want to start monitoring this. So I will try to enter this, start monitoring. And then what will happen is that this thank you page will be reloaded. And since my tag has fired again, I mean the purchase tag right here, I can see the conversion captured by this extension. I can click it and I see what kind of information was captured, and together with the conversion, we also see that the email address was sent. This is the hashed value, and this is the email that was actually eventually sent to Google Ads. Since we see this green success message, it means that everything is working fine. I wasn't sending the phone number, so that one was not found. So it looks like everything is working fine. I sent the email, and the EC Assist extension confirmed that. So the final step here will be, once again, to publish these Google Tag Manager changes. You should go to Google Tag Manager, click Submit, and then Publish so that these enhanced conversion changes would go live. One final thing which is important if your business is operating in European Union or United Kingdom or Switzerland is consent mode. Google requires you to also send consent information together with your conversions if you want your conversion tracking to work properly. For example, if consent is given, then you send that information together with your conversion data. For example, if the visitor gives consent, then you send that information together with your conversion to Google Ads. But consent mode is a very extensive topic. It goes out of scope of this tutorial, and there are many things to learn and many gotchas and various nuances. If you want to learn ins and outs of the consent mode, then take a look at my Google Tag Manager course for beginners. It contains a separate module where I explain consent mode very in-depth, and I even show several methods. So if this is something you're interested in, then take a look below the video where I will post a link to the course. And that's how you can track Google Ads conversions with Google Tag Manager. To make your conversion tracking even more accurate, you should consider doing this with server-side Tag Manager. I explain all of that in my intermediate/advanced Google Tag Manager course. You will find the link to it below the video. If you found this video useful, hit the like button. That will help me understand what videos do you like and what should I create in the future. Also, if you want to learn more about Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics 4, then subscribe to this channel. My name is Julius, this is Analytics Mania, and I'll see you in the next video.